Coming up on American Medicine Today, it's been nearly 20 years since an international team generated the first sequence of the human genome. A member of the original research team, Karen Miga, joins us to discuss the history of the project and the advancements that followed. Then Richard's cervical pain stemmed from a lifetime of hard physical labor. After losing feeling in his hands, he found the Bonati Spine Institute and is now happily living pain-free. Finally, Dr. Bonati compares his life experience of socialism to ideologies younger generations are being sold. Will a lack of historical education really lead to a repeat of failed ideals? Find out coming up on American Medicine Today.
Featuring cutting-edge science and medical innovation, touching personal stories of recovery from pain, along with political, social, and healthcare issues plaguing our nation. This is American Medicine Today, brought to you by the Bonati Spine Institute and Alfred Bonati, MD.
Welcome to American Medicine Today. I'm Kimberly Bonati alongside Ethan Euchre and world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. Alfred Bonati. The Human Genome Project is considered one of the greatest scientific feats in history. The research is spanning well over a decade. So what is it all about? Joining us to discuss is Karen Miga, part of the international group of researchers who conducted the project. Welcome to the program, Karen.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
There's a lot to unpack with this Human Genome Project. Can you try to summarize all the research of the last decade, as well as kind of the purpose of this groundbreaking project?
There's been a tremendous amount of research over the past 2 decades, so it's going to be very hard to simply answer that question. But I think we all can appreciate that the Human Genome Project, the goal there was to represent all of the genetic information that describes us as humans. And that was to help us identify base by base meaning, things that could help us understand human histories, information that could help us understand human disease. And the most important thing that I think your audience needs to understand is that if we think about this as being a book of life, where we've been inscribing A, T, C's, and G's, we've been missing that final chapter of our book, about 10% of that book for 2 decades. And so scientists, clinicians haven't been able to really study the sequences that exist in these missing chapters, and we haven't been able to connect the dots with understanding how we could understand rare diseases, understand unique human histories that are kind of inscribed in these past chapters. And so I think that's a lot of the enthusiasm with having a complete book, is being able for the first time to fully and completely understand a human genome. And it really has a promise because we saw all the exciting work that's been happening in this space with the rest of the genome for the past 2 decades. To be able to move that lens over to this final chapter, I think is why a lot of folks are pretty excited.
What is the ultimate goal? Because as you said, I think the research started in 1990, I want to say. I was like 11 years old, and I remember hearing about the Human Genome Project. And I was always kind of a science person myself, and I thought, boy, the implications are amazing, and now here we are. So it's complete, the book is written, and what are scientists and researchers going to use this information for?
Right. Well, I think that what we're using it for, we've been trying to put to the test for many years now, of all of the exciting new discoveries that folks have made in identifying what we call precision medicine, or identifying changes in DNA that could be linked to a disease outcome. And so that has had a tremendous amount of promise and actual, taking it to therapy over the past 2 decades. So we've already started to see some of this release of the power of having a human genome. But however, what I want to bring your audience to understanding is that it was, back when you first heard about it, a call to action to have a complete map of a human genome. But what happened was that technology just exploded in this space. And we've been capturing small sequence reads. For example, we can't read a whole genome end to end. It's about 3 billion bases long. We don't have any device. No machine can do that. So we kind of have to take like a puzzle, little pieces of the genome, right, to read it. And we've been looking at these really small pieces for many decades. So we have some understanding of how humans differ compared to this one map. And so when you ask me what's next, what I really want to emphasize is that what we're celebrating today is a complete view of, using my metaphor of a book of life. One genome. And what we've learned for the past 2 decades is that all of us listening to this show, as well as people in the past, archaic genomes, we all have differences that make us a little different than that one genome. And those differences are pretty important for helping us to understand human disease, help us understand human heredity, and various aspects of exciting new therapeutics. And I think that having more and more of these complete genomes and being able to study with more detail these differences between humans, I think is where we're going. And so there's another project which kind of has another fun name. The one that we're talking about today is the telomere to telomere, because telomeres are the ends of chromosomes. So it's essentially saying end to end, where we're trying to develop the technology to see genomes this way. But where we're going is the pan-genome project. And what that's saying is, let's take that technology end to end and now start to do this for hundreds, if not thousands, of individuals around the world, so we get a more equitable look at what genomes look like for our species. What we're trying to find out is if there's any association with some of these differences that we can start to measure using the human reference genome that are found in this group of individuals who share this common disease in comparison to other individuals which do not. And these studies of whole genome association have been extremely powerful over the past 2 decades. And what we found is that, right now, a lot of these studies for whole genome association have been really utilizing individuals and participants that are largely representing European ancestry. And what we'd love to do is create a broader representation around the world, as you correctly alluded to have a more vibrant, more robust, and more accurate assessment of variants that could contribute to diseases from all different walks of human histories. And so I think we're trying to broaden the scope of these studies in the future, but we've already celebrated for the past 2 decades, making a lot of really wonderful strides forward with clinical genomics and genetics using these types of association methods.
Once you identify some of these genomes just for us by association, do you have experience in if these genomes can be removed and then create a curative treatment for that specific problem?
Well, I can speak to our particular team. We're at the best of times genome geeks, and we are just passionate about making the best maps possible. And what we celebrate by providing these highly accurate maps are opportunities for other researchers to take that information, identify variants that may be associated with disease, and then even go to the next step. And that may involve drug development, that may involve CRISPR-based technologies, as you're alluding to, or methods where you can actually actively go in and correct variants to improve health outcomes. But I think at the root of it all is having this lens over the entire scope of a genome to be able to be comprehensive and identifying these variants that could lead to these new important therapeutic outcomes.
Where did you come up with those genetic materials? Was it one person, 50 people, 100 people?
This is where it would be hard to describe to my first and second graders, so you're going to have to bear with me. Essentially, what we need to all think about is that when we think about our genome, we have to think that every single cell in our body has 2 genomes, one that you acquired from your father and one that you acquired from your mother. So we are diploid individuals. And so that makes it really tough, because if you're thinking about this like a puzzle, where you're opening the lid and you have a whole set of puzzle pieces and you're wanting to put that puzzle together. When I tell you there's 2 genomes in your cell, what I'm telling you is there's actually 2 puzzles that are in the same box that look near identical to one another. And so the first step is you have to kind of take the pieces out one by one and figure out which puzzle you're actually putting together before you start. And that's hard. And that whole buildup is to let you know that when we were starting this work, we wanted to figure out if there was a way we could just work on one puzzle and not have to do this type of 2 puzzles in one box. And so to do that, we're working with a very specialized cell line. This is derived from something called a complete heterotroph mole. It's an event that takes place very early in development, where you have kind of like the egg and sperm. And so you have the maternal and paternal genome. And when fertilization happens, the maternal genome is not there. It either disappears, it's removed, or it was never there to begin with. But the paternal genome goes through a round of duplication. So now you have two genomes in the box, but they're identical to one another. So it's effectively one genome. And so these were the cell lines that we use. Kind of in our genome geek space, we call this CHM13, for this is the 13th cell line of a complete high tetraform mole. And so this is a very special resource that our team was able to really utilize to build a complete map. Now, we looked at this map and it matches in every aspect a normal human haplotype, but that's just not good enough for our team. So we're now developing and making huge progress, actually, and moving into a world where we can actually resolve those two puzzles in the same box, or a diploid challenge. And so we're hopeful that we can start to release more and more of these finished genomes from individuals who could be listening to this show, just from blood or from other resources as well, and not have to rely on these very specialized methods and cell lines now.
It's amazing. And you made it when you became a question on Jeopardy.
A clue on Jeopardy. When I knew we were going to talk to you and I saw it the night before, I was like, no way, we're talking about this tomorrow and it's on Jeopardy. Anyway.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I think that for all of us will be a huge high. So I'm so excited to share that with our team.
Karen Miga, part of the international group of researchers who conducted the Genome Project. Thank you for being on the program to discuss what it's all about.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been a lot of fun, and thank you to your viewers for listening.
Make sure you stay tuned. Coming up after the break, a story of recovery.
Don't be screwed by lesser spine institutes who bait you with minimally invasive procedures, then switch to screws, rods, disc replacements, and hardware. At Bonati, no metal hardware fusions are ever used. Bonati invented the precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonati spine procedures, they consistently reflect 98.75% patient satisfaction. Over half our patients have suffered from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonati succeeds where others fail. Years of working in construction and glass manufacturing left Richard Wyckoff in pain.
My pain was a constant pain, stabbing pain across my shoulders and in my neck. And I had a numbness in both hands and both arms, which was very distracting and very difficult to live with. From what they were able to tell me, it's just from years of constant physical abuse, being in the construction industry that I was in years ago, and the very physically demanding job that I have now. Difficult job as far as physically, because you're lifting a lot of weight all day long.
He sought traditional spine surgery in 1995 in an attempt to eliminate his pain.
It was a triple laminectomy. It was the old, very invasive surgery where they cut through all the muscles and tissues and everything, and it was a very long recuperation period. They got me through a point where I was as good as I was going to get, and still have a certain amount of pain with it, but you learn to live with it. Recuperation time was between 1.5 years and 2 years.
Left unresolved after such an invasive surgery, Richard's pain threatened his marriage and prevented him from living a normal life. Richard soon realized something had to change.
The pain before my surgery affected my life in a way that it was very difficult to live a normal life. I had difficulty sleeping, had difficulty sitting, standing, driving, doing just about anything. It got to the point where I could barely get up out of a chair and walk across the floor. The pain affected my personal life with my wife tremendously, because it got to a point where she said if I didn't do something about the pain, she was going to leave. And there's been, I know quite a few people that have had the surgery that said the same thing. It got to a point where your home life no longer existed because you're just sitting in a chair constantly grumpy because you're in pain. And my wife couldn't take it anymore, and she was going to leave me.
After researching his symptoms and discovering the patented targeted procedures at the Bonati Spine Institute, he began his journey to a pain-free life in December 2015.
Dr. Bonati himself had 2 procedures on my neck They did C5, C6, C7, and T1 is where I had the problem. And they had to do it in 2 stages. It was only a day apart. I had one done on a Tuesday and the other one was done on a Thursday. They knew exactly, as soon as they looked at the MRI photos, they knew exactly where the pain was coming from and exactly what to do. And they said I was a prime candidate for the surgery, and they expected everything to come out very well, and it did. Recovery from this surgery, there's no comparison to my last surgery. I went home. I was off of work for 2 weeks. I was supposed to be off the work for 4 to 6 weeks, but I went back to work, and I've been on light duty, and it's every day I'm getting stronger and stronger. I'm getting my muscle strength back. I have no pain whatsoever, none at all. And was a very quick recovery. I mean, in a matter of 4 weeks, I was pretty much back to normal, and I had a normal lifestyle back, and it's been enjoyable. The Bonati experience was very pleasant. Everyone there was super nice, super concerned, super knowledgeable. The surgeries themselves were rather enjoyable, which is a strange thing to say about surgery, but just being awake for the whole thing and watching it on the monitor on the floor, to me was extra exciting because I enjoy stuff like that. And the instant relief of pain was a definite blessing.
Since receiving the exclusive patented Bonati spine procedures, Richard and his wife are able to enjoy life together again.
Right after the surgery, we were in the hotel room, and she said, "You're back. The old you is back." And that in itself is a blessing. Just to have a normal lifestyle and a normal relationship with my wife instead of complaining about being in pain and taking pain pills and being a zombie all day.
He has also resumed his favorite activities, such as fishing.
Oh, I've been able to build things out in my shop out of wood that I like to, just build crazy little things, do projects around the house that I've been postponing because I wasn't able to do it before. Fishing and just living life in general has been a lot more pleasurable. I would definitely feel comfortable going back, and I am thinking of going back to have them look at my lower back to see if there's any more they could do for that, because my neck is such a success. If he can do something with my back, I'll be in heaven for sure.
Bonati was the one that helped me completely. Thank you for giving my career back to me.
Several people have asked me, what did you do, where did you go, who did you see? And I'm more than happy to tell them that the Bonati Spine Institute is the place to go.
He said, "Don't tell me, I'm going to tell you what's wrong with you and tell me if I'm correct." And so he did.
The good news this time is it was not open back surgery.
They did give me my life back.
This scar is this big.
He was a doctor that didn't want to fillet my back open like a fish.
During the whole operation, I was awake. I was talking to the doctor. I saw the operation in the monitor.
He's not really cutting muscles, he's just pushing them away.
Immediately after the procedure, I was able to stand straight again, and I had zero pain.
Well, he did the surgery on the left side, and a week later, I was back in the gym.
When somebody can help you to where you can recover and where you can do the things that you were able to do before, you just become thankful.
I can't thank the Bonati Institute enough for giving me my life back.
It just opens up doors that you thought were closed.
I love you, Doc.
Welcome back to American Medicine Today. So, Dr. Bonati, you wanted to tackle socialism. What about it really distresses you?
The people who believes in socialism is because they never had any exposure to what that type of a control of population means.
Right.
Socialism is like cancer.
Yes.
Once it gets infected, you need to go to the root of the cancer.
Yes. Cut it out.
And cut them out. Unfortunately, Americans are playing with this cancer. They keep criticizing capitalism.
Right.
And the problem is, or they are ill-informed, or they are so comfortable, they just don't care.
Right.
Happens in other places. Cuba had that problem in the 50s.
Right.
They were an incredible good country with a tremendous amount of wealth. They're very close to America. They enjoy great amount of money.
Till they went communistic.
But then they decided to support people that they were not communist, but they were revolutionary. And then the revolution brought the communism.
Right.
And I was in Cuba around 2-3 years ago, maybe 2 years ago. And it's amazing to see, because I saw Cuba in photographs and in movies and when the 50s.
And it always looked a little bit romantic. Am I
Looks
correct?
like it's stuck in the 50s now, right?
A little.
With all the old cars and all that stuff.
Well, old cars will be great because the old cars, they look beautiful.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
But you go there,
It's culture
and
shock.
the cities are totally destroyed.
Yes.
You still see hotels that they were magnificent hotels. They were with bulletproof, with bullet hitting the walls all over. I mean, they are living in a war zone. The control of the population is tremendous. Anything that doesn't go in the way that the controllers want, these people are being eliminated. Life has no respect. I mean, it's nothing that you are
There's
going
nothing
to go.
sacred.
Yeah,
Yes.
they kill you, period.
When, we went as a family to Cuba, and it was right when Castro died.
Exactly.
And we didn't know what to do. Was a revolution going to break out, or was there going to be crying in the streets? There was no crying. There was no sorrow. Nobody came out in the middle of the streets and were crying.
No, they suffer enough that they are dull. They're type of a emotional behavior that we see in capitalistic type countries.
Yes.
They are like robots. They obey orders and that's it.
Or be killed, yeah.
Or be killed, yes. They create slaves.
Yes.
And those slaves, they supply with their sweat and their work for a few people that they are on the top living like kings.
Correct.
And they live for the rest of their life. Because look at Castro. He till the last day, he was in power, in control.
Correct.
So this type of behaviors is very sickening.
When you and I had gone to Argentina, you talked about how beautiful it was. And when we got there, it was just destruction. Roads were torn apart, buildings dilapidated, but the beautiful government buildings were pristine.
They take care of themselves and they live like royalty.
Yes.
Argentina was an incredible country.
Yes.
The same like Venezuela, an incredible country. They just elect in Colombia a totally radical president.
Yes.
And already is passing some laws. And one of the things that they are doing, they are saying anybody who has more than 700 square feet at the house, they are going to share the house with people that they don't have houses. They're going to put people on your house.
Right.
That is what happened in Venezuela. Venezuela was a powerful country.
Yes.
All right. Argentina was a powerful country. Those countries are now so rich that they can still survive. But the real problem, the population,
is
the
suffering.
people who live there suffer tremendously the mistakes of electing a wrong government.
So why is it this idealistic vision of socialism is something that we want to bring to our, not that we want it, but the liberals and the Democrats are pushing for this. to come to our country, but they're not looking at the negative effects it's had on every other country.
Why they are going to look at the negative effect? Socialism is create slaves.
Yes, indoctrination and slaves.
Those slaves, they need to work for you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's two types of slavery. The mental slavery.
Yes.
And the physical slavery.
Correct.
The physical slavery, you can fight it.
Mm-hmm.
Happened with blacks here.
Sure.
All right? They fought it and they won.
Mm-hmm.
But the mental slavery is like a virus. They contagion you to a certain level that you cannot fight.
Right.
You just gave up.
Right.
And this is a socialism.
Yes.
Okay. And the major problem with that is we are trying to indoctrinate people here to appreciate socialism. And the indoctrination is massive. They are going not only to the schools and the universities, and the people who is there indoctrinated are teachers. So the major trouble is these people are creating sick people to support people that they are practically corrupted. And they don't see it. They don't understand it.
Right.
And the major trouble with this is that we are not going to correct that unless we have a resistance. And the resistance needs to come by the Americans that they are the patriots. The retiree people who live in this country when this country was the country that we love. And
land of opportunity.
The opportunity and the respect for law and the respect for people.
Correct.
We're losing all this. And unless the people get in the side and start to eliminate this the school mafia and start to eliminate those teachers and remove people from the universities and start to put people there who can teach the quality of life of capitalism, who save millions of people just by the idea of you can develop your own life and you can fight for your own problems.
Well, this is what happens when you create an atmosphere of dreamers instead of doers. Thank you for joining us on American Medicine Today. Make sure you check us out next Saturday, 4 p.m. Eastern on Newsmax. If you have any comments or questions, contact us at the number below. You can tweet at Dr. Bonati using hashtag American Medicine Today or hashtag AMT. We would like to hear from you.